Is the media turning extreme? For years, the UK's centre has been prevalent in both Parliament and general politics, with both traditional parties promising fairly similar centrist policies for the previous 14 years. Previously, the Tory party, and now the Labour Party, both having a remarkably similar ideology, despite the voters constantly voting differently. Times are changing, however, and traditional parties are dying, and this stems from the continuous failure of the centre, which is caused by the Britain's lack of support for this constant, enforced agenda which has been placed upon us. As seen in the US recently, where both the Democrats and the Republicans have become more politically extreme, a similar idea has been executed in the UK, with current polling suggesting the next election race could be between the Green Party and Reform UK. But why is this occurring? There are many reasons why it's occurring. Personally, I think this comes from the online voices overcrowding traditional media. For example, on the left, you've got your Gary Stevenson, Jimmy the Giants, and even the leader of the Green Party himself, Zach Polanski, who has his own podcast, in case you didn't know. And on the right, you've got Carl Benjamin, Tommy Robinson, and even potentially Farage with his splitting the G and other shenanigans. These online voices allow people to exist in more echo chambers from both sides, allowing left and right wingers to become progressively more and more radicalised, as viewers consume more and more extreme media, potentially skewing a centre-right voter to becoming far-right. This can occur as a consequence of the media's algorithms feeding viewers what they want to hear. Rather than potentially a more reasonable standpoint which you hear in traditional media, this results in only hearing from one side, which can create a sense of polarisation as many lose trust in the other side. Another issue that comes from this is a lack of respect for the other side, often leading to dedicated right and left wingers feeling they have no common ground with the other side, and often seeing the other side as subhuman to them and completely irrational, creating a deep resentment and quite a polarising situation between the group, and often a lack of discussion between the other side, as since many who get involved often see debates as being pointless because people won't actually change their opinion. Alternatively, another problem is that this can create quick divides within the political sides. Notoriously, currently in the US, the anti-MAGA movement with Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson has been occurring. These people, who whilst previously would have been right-wing voters and supported Trump at the time, now see the US as failing because of his lack of dedication towards his initial voter base. A lot of people see this from his failure to end the Ukraine war and his change around the Epstein files. And this often creates disagreements within the same segment of the political scale and can create situations where a single political side can split into many different formations. For example, in the UK, you've got your UKIP, Nick Zanconi, Tommy Robinson lot, and then you've got your traditional Tories, you've got your, Jacob Rees-Mogg and your Boris Johnsons, and then you've got your kind of Carl Benjamin type, preserving British culture type people. Alternatively, another reason for these extreme politics can come from the online media requiring lots of criticism and against centrist governments. The internet tends to be extremely negative, at least in my opinion, and this can often result in kind of sheer negativity, and people will complain about anything, especially if they don't see a particular person doing exactly what they want. And this can come from, since we have had a couple of centrist governments, this will result in more negativity towards them. So it may be unjust in a way, but it is also reasonable because people aren't happier under the new leaderships. And especially since the UK, a lot of people see as being declining right now in quality of life, they will be critical of the centrist liberal governments which they have had recently. So they'll go to the extremes of the Green Party and Reform, who aren't really that extreme, to be honest. They're just, hardcore centre left and hardcore centre right. Maybe we'll go to the Homeland or UKIP or the Communist Party. Who knows? But since they have ruled the world for 14 years, the UK, for 14 years, this will result in a bias against them and will allow people who just simply critique them without proper solution, influence and popularity over them. For example, a lot of podcasters. And this can create a strong sense of disconnect from the sides, and often people see themselves as having completely different ideas for the future, rather than both having the same general idea of how to improve a country, just different methods of getting there. A lot of people see this country as being ruined for one reason, because it's full of people of the other political spectrum, which is not an ideal situation and something that we should be dealt with, and it is as a consequence of the media. Thank you for watching.